What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Beginning of a new work week, a new beginning. What other interesting titles can I give Monday? Because I know Monday is like really stressful for a ton of people out there. You know, nobody really wants to be bothered with that Monday. It's like, God, Sunday, you deal with that dreaded Monday coming up, and then for most of us, we start our work week, and it's a challenge, it's a struggle sometimes, but I think sometimes you can look at it as a positive. Definitely can look at it as a positive and try to figure out how we're going to structure things for this upcoming week and what can we create, make things evolve into something totally special. And that is probably the way that a lot of us should approach these Mondays, because trust me, I know they're they tend to be a struggle sometimes. But what we're going to do is we're going to make these Mondays positive. We're going to get something out of it. We're going to create. We're going to build, and we're going to be useful. That's what we want to be. We want to be useful. So appreciate the day. Appreciate waking up. Appreciate being blessed, and we're going to get into it in a little bit. What's going on, sis? So today I got Cuzzo on, and now, granted, as we all know, this is who peed in the dating pool. My cousin has gotten himself out of the dating pool because now he's a married man. He has that ring on the finger, and you know, he's doing it. You know, so he's in the workforce, successful, and I'm excited to have him on because I'll tell you a little bit. So I don't want to embarrass him. So, I'm trying to embarrass him. However, he's a good kid and he's always been that way. You know, how some people, they evolve into that good kid. Well, he's always been that good kid. So now he's an adult and now he's become a really good man. And I'm excited to have him on, and we're going to chat a little bit. What's up, Nicole? Feel better. So, yeah. So we're going to chat a little bit. We're going to talk about pre-marriage, obviously. We're going to talk about some of the obstacles he's faced throughout this dating pool. And then we're going to get into what made him decide that this young lady that he said, I do, what made her that significant individual that allow him to forget about everybody else and make that his queen. So we're going to talk to him a little bit. So when he comes up, he's already here actually, but when we pull him up, we're going to talk to him a little bit. And Nicole, I didn't forget, we're going to touch a little bit on some of those issues, but not all of them, because we're going to save that for you, because we're going to chat a little bit and we're going to discuss some issues. So Nicole is on here right now, and Nicole is not here because she's a little under the weather, so everybody give her a get well wish if you can. But we're going to have a show, and we're going to discuss some of the taboo issues that a lot of people don't like to discuss in regards to this dating scene. You know, there are things that we tend to pretend that they don't exist. That's what we do. We act like there are certain scenarios that we like to brush over. And over here in Who Peed in the Dating Pool, we don't brush over anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch those topics that might wrinkle a feather or two. Some people, we hope never to offend anybody. That's never our goal, to offend anyone. However, we want to talk about things, and some of these topics that tend to get ignored, they're ignored for a reason. They're ignored because folks just they just don't want to I don't know, look at the look at it from a critical, self-critical perspective. It's difficult for people to look at themselves and critique themselves and find and look and say, hey, what am I doing wrong? Because we have this show who peed in the dating pool, and we have it for a reason. But too often, the blame goes one way. And a lot of times this is binary. This there are two sides to this coin. And a lot of times we don't reflect on why we could be the problem. And nobody wants to consider themselves the problem. Nobody. Nobody looks at themselves like, well, maybe I'm the pee in the pool. And it's a good chance that the way we look at our life, at some point in time, we have all been the pea in the pool. Not always for the same reason. Not necessarily because we're toxic, or because we're out here cheating, or we're out here lying, or we're out here being abusive and all those other things. Not to that extent, but sometimes we enter these pools when they're not ready. Maybe we don't even know how to backstroke, but we're in the 8 feet water, and we don't need to be there yet, because we need to work on our, what do you call those? I forget those are the beginner swim. I forget the name of it. But we're beginners, and we don't need to be in that deep water. And obviously, these are metaphors and so forth, but we need to play our position a lot of times. And we know that we're dealing with things. We don't need to be in someone's life. We don't need to be in that dating pool. We realize that at this point in time, we're not ready to be a good partner. And Nicole and I, we're gonna delve into some of those reasons of why people aren't ready to be that partner that they're presenting in that dating pool, and obviously that creates a problem. So it's just some of the things we want to talk about. We want to talk about some of the other things as well. So Dre, whenever you're ready, just come up, let me know, and I'll pull you up. But sis, just to I know what was that? Was that Saturday? We had some great discussion Saturday. I know you were at the counter. I know you weren't didn't hear some of it, but we had some really good discussions, and a lot of those topics we're going to bring into the equation when Nicole comes up, and we're going to talk about some of those as well, because there was so many interesting discussions that occur between Mar and Sis and who else added to that equation? Jamal. Okay, just send the request. So, we had some really good discussions, and I really want to bring those into the equation. And maybe one day we'll get you up here, sis. Keep me posted when she's coming. Yeah, when we're gonna get you up here one day. I know you may be kicking and screaming, but we're gonna get you up here one day. We will definitely get you. Wish I was sitting over there. Yeah, but like I said, Cuzzo, what's good, man?
What's happening, man?
Chilling, man. So, give you a proper introduction. This is Little Big Cuz. Now we're gonna call him we're gonna call him Little Big Cuz because obviously I'm a little bit older by a few decades or so.
Just a little bit.
just a little bit, but I recognize that my 6'1" and his 6'5",
Four,
6'6",
6'4".
I think my growth spurts is done and over with, so I don't know if I'll be able to catch.
Nah.
I don't know if I'm gonna catch up with you, man. But listen, man, I'm still trying, man. I might have an inch or two left in me. I don't know, man. Yeah. So what's good, cuz? This is Andre. Yo, we call him Lil Dre. So for y'all, we're gonna refer to him as Lil Dre, but he's 6'4". Understand? He's not a little guy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what's good, man? How are you, man?
Man, I'm good. I can't complain, man. Just just working, doing everyday stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just chilling. I can't complain, man.
Outstanding. So as you know, this show is called "Who Peed in the Dating Pool,"
Hmm.
and we talk about issues uh, that are preventing people from being their best self in this dating scene.
Right.
And just a brief history. One day I was talking to a good friend of mine, and I tell the story all the time. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and she was like, "You know what? There's pee in the pool." So I was like, "Yeah, really? Well, who peed in it?" And I said, "Uh-huh." Who peed in the dating pool? Let's ask these questions. Let's
Hmm.
find out why there's pee in the dating pool. What's contributing to this?
Hmm.
What can we do as individuals to make the pool a little cleaner? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because as human beings, our whole purpose is to be together. I mean,
Hmm.
forget what you said. We're communal
Right.
humans. We like to be each other. We need partners. We need people who love us. We want to love other people. So, I read something that was very funny. I don't know who wrote it, but it kind of skimmed by it. It kind of caught my attention. Hold on, let's see this for Lord. Somebody did more than pee in it. Oh gosh. Yep. So my niece said that there's coke and crack in the pee in the dating pool too. So I don't
All
know.
kind of stuff
Pee
in there,
date,
boy.
everything's up in there. So again, we wanted to create a platform so people can have honest, respectful dialogue with one another, so we can try to iron out some of these issues. That's
Right.
it.
Hmm.
The purest of intentions. We wanted to talk about it, so we talked about some of that.
Yeah.
We were talking to people. We talked about the obstacles that they're encountering.
Yeah.
So obviously, you're a married man, man. So y'all only been married like a year now.
Just a little over a year. Yep, we got married last July.
Just a little over a year. Just
Hmm.
July. So you're okay. So you're 14 months into marriage.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations. That's beautiful. I mean,
Thank you.
that's so outstanding.
Appreciate that.
So, I mean, now, obviously you weren't always a married man.
No, sir.
You were swimming,
Yeah.
backstroking,
Yeah. Yeah.
butterflying in this
All
pool.
that.
So, absolutely. So as a young man in today's dating scene, what was that like? What were some of the obstacles dealing with that?
Well, I think even now it's a little different than when I was dating because I've been
Mm-hmm.
me and my wife, we've been married for a little over a year. We've been together for 7 years. So
Okay.
it's been a little while, but even back then, I think one of the biggest things is people not knowing what they want and what they're really looking for, and
Mm-hmm.
communication is a huge thing. um, and I think what a lot of times what happens, especially back, at least for me, was you are looking for something and you might get into a relationship or something, and the person that you're with, that y'all not on the same page at all in terms of what you
Mm-hmm.
want. I might be going in one direction and she going in another direction. So already it's not working. It doesn't mesh. So I think that's one of the
Right.
biggest things, at least it was for me when I was dating.
So when you were in that dating pool, those things, those specifics that you were looking for,
Hmm.
did you bring that to the table initially? Did you have those conversations with whomever you were dating? Did you tell them, like, listen, these are the characteristics that I bring, and I'm also looking for these characteristics in an individual? Or were people, and this is only not that long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, what have you, were people just feeling it out more?
I
Or were they
think
being more direct with their approach of what they really wanted?
I think people are feeling it out more. I actually don't think people are
Mm,
direct at all. And I know I can say for myself personally, that's one of the mistakes I made, was not being as direct and being like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. This is the direction I'm trying to head in. Because I know, at least for me, my thing was, if you know me and you know what kind of person I am, then you know I'm not trying to play no games. I'm trying to head in a certain direction, and I'm trying to do these things. But that's an
Right.
assumption, that people, that you're dealing with may not know. So it's on you to be like, listen, this is what I'm trying to do, and this is what I'm looking for, and I know
Right.
that was one thing I know I could say for a lot of the time that I was dating a lot of the different young ladies that I dealt with, I up front initially I did not present that directly. I'm thinking,
Mm.
you know me well enough to know I'm not playing no game. So, so what's the
Right.
issue? What's the problem? But
Right.
you have to do that because you can't assume that people just know and are headed in that doing that same thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah, you definitely can't assume, because what happens is a lot of people are in the dating game just to practice, so to speak. They're
Hmm.
not really looking for a commitment. They're
No,
looking for, some people are just looking for a partner to hang out with. Some
absolutely.
people are looking for a person to be intimate with.
Hmm.
Some people are looking for a club goer with them.
Yep.
You don't know what they're looking for until you really sit down and ask. And then
Right.
you hope they're being honest with you.
Right.
I mean, that's the assumption. You assume that they're going to be
Be
honest with
honest.
you in their
Hmm.
intent and what have you. But what I find, and I don't know if you agree, sometimes the question isn't enough. You just have to be more observant and view the actions of the individual,
Hmm.
and then you see how they move, and you see how they move towards you, and you see how they move in certain environments. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely. It goes back to the old saying, actions speak louder than words. Like you said, you
Mm,
can only ask those questions and put those things out and expect or just assume that they're going to be honest with you, but you can truly see what somebody's intentions are, what they're really trying to do by the way they move and what they do, and
right.
that's something that, you I hate to say it, but it's kind of it's a little rare, especially when you're first dealing with somebody or trying to initiate something. It's a little rare to see, exactly. I think sometimes people see what they want to see and not what's
Right.
actually happening and what's actually going
Mm,
on. So, but yeah, no, definitely, it's you have to really pay attention to people's actions. And again, you could assume that they're going to be honest with you, but you really got to look at the way people move.
mm. It's definitely in human nature to be optimistic. You want to be optimistic. You want to see the best in people, especially when you
Right.
like someone.
Hmm.
You're trying to see that best in them. And then there may be those signs, those telltale signs that may point in another direction. But when you're vibing with someone, you want it to work. A lot of
Absolutely.
that's human nature. We want it to work. So we tend to ignore things
Hmm.
that should be obvious.
Hmm.
And that's unfortunate. I know that when I was in the dating scene heavy. Now we're gonna go back.
We'll go back a little ways. Go back a little ways.
When I was a young man in this dating scene, Lord have mercy. Things are a little different, man.
Hmm.
But you know what? As things change, things remain the same. And I know even in the early 90s, when I was heavy in the scene, going out, what have you, we still had people who were deceitful, men and women.
Hmm.
We still had people who were dishonest.
Hmm.
We still had people who didn't represent their authentic self
Hmm.
as at first glance and first meeting. What we didn't have is this social media platform that
Right.
exists right now.
Hmm.
And I think that the input of social media had to make things so complicated for a
Hmm.
lot of individuals,
Yeah.
because what I hear a lot of, because of social media in your generation, you correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
but they say that people lose that ability to communicate
Hmm.
because in person, I should say,
Yeah.
and communicate in person. That interpersonal experience of communicating with another human being because they're so used to DMing or
Definitely.
texting or Snapchat or what have you. So they kind of lost that ability. This is what I hear.
Hmm.
And I think that's one thing that we have on your generation, because your generation has just so more advanced than we were. So more advanced, so much more advanced. I mean, really. But we had the ability to communicate with one another.
Yes.
And we had no choice.
Yes.
If you if you wanted to see somebody, you had to see them. There was
Yes.
no sending
Right.
them a text message or anything. So
No
we
question.
had to spend more time with each other.
Hmm.
So has that been a problem for you? Has social let me just ask, has social media created problems for you in the dating scene when you were in that dating scene?
Oh yeah, yeah, no question. Because it's just like you said, it's that interpersonal communication. So you get used
Mm,
to, DMing or texting, and
mm,
those types of communications where it's not face to face. We don't have to necessarily sit and talk to each other, if that makes sense.
right.
But what ends
Total.
up what ends up happening is, you get heavy into that, you get used to that, and then when you got to be in the same room with the person and sit and have conversation, real conversation, and sit and talk and try
Mm,
to connect on that interpersonal level, you find it's hard. You can't, you find that, okay, we could text and DM all day, but we sit here and it's silent, you know? And so
yeah.
that has definitely been, I've experienced that more than once. And even once, my wife and I got together, it was something that we had to learn to do more effectively, was communicate face to face, interpersonally. So that's definitely, it could be the social media thing can be a hindrance in that aspect, and it
Mm.
it can have a lot of effect on the way a relationship is plays out.
I can imagine. I don't even know how I would have moved in that social back then because a lot of people my age and older, we always say thank God there was no social media back
Yeah,
then. There's a lot of evidence, man.
right. Yeah, yeah. If you're not careful,
But
woo.
oh man, listen, man, listen, I ain't gonna, but you know what? I'm gonna tell you, at my age, I don't know if how I would be able to move in today's circle, because things move a little faster than what I'm used to be quite honest. Let's be frank, they just move faster. I mean, and I'm not saying that we were turtles back then. Things happen, what have you. But I had a guest on.
Mhm.
Shout out to Vigilante. I had a guest on, and he was discussing some of his unique lifestyle. Now he's younger than me, obviously, he's years,
Mhm.
decades younger than me, and he was discussing some of the unique lifestyles, and we went into the whole polyamorous lifestyle thing,
Mm.
and he didn't go into it because, let me be fair, I asked him because I saw him on another live and I saw him discussing it, and I
Right.
asked about it,
Mhm.
and that seems to be something that's like heavily involved in today's dating scene, where I guess one person isn't enough. So they go into another relationship and into that relationship and have all of these outlets, so to speak, to engage with other people.
Mhm.
And I don't know, maybe I'm just old school, but that's just something that I'm not really ready for. But do you see that a
Yeah.
lot in your age range, that whole mentality and lifestyle and so forth?
I can say this. I've seen it from a, I guess it would be kind of considered the same thing, but I guess now, as of recently, the word has been put to it more, the more, polyamorous types of relationships. But I honestly think that type of stuff has been going on for a while, in terms of the fact that, you have somebody who, okay, I'm with this person. This person brings these traits, right? And then, oh, this person brings these other traits that I'm looking for. Or and this
Hmm.
person brings these other interests and things that interest me. So I'm involved with all of them because they all bring something that appeals to me. Now,
Right.
if you ask me, it's a little bit too much work for me. More than one
Oh, yeah,
person at a
yeah.
time.
One
You
is
know,
one is a challenge. Yeah.
one is one. If you put in somebody, I heard somebody once said, if you put in everything you have into the one person or the one relationship, then you don't have enough or anything else to put into something else because you putting everything
Yeah.
all
I mean,
together.
yes, yes. I mean, listen, that's a lot of energy. I'm like, where do they get these energy? I mean, what they popping Flintstones like
Look,
nothing. I don't know where they get this energy from.
listen,
'Cause
is I couldn't do it.
oh, whew.
I
And
couldn't do it.
you know what? Let's be fair. I'm sure there were people who lived similar lifestyles back
Mm-hmm.
then, but it was quiet.
Quieted, absolutely,
It wasn't, you know, you didn't know about it. It was something that
absolutely.
people kept under wraps.
Mm-hmm.
But today, it's something that's being discussed openly, and women are like, listen, you know, I can't have one person, and I'm like, wow, the boldness and
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah,
goal
I think.
of
Look,
today's, yo.
I definitely think is a lot of things are way more accepted nowadays. So a lot more stuff
Hmm.
is put out and open, and even like because I mean I said just being honest, men have been doing it for a long time, having this one over here, that one over here, this one over here, and I
But they
honestly
lied about it.
and they lied about it.
they,
They
they
lied
lied
about
about
it. They lied
it.
about it. And it's funny because that ties into something that I tell people like whenever because I have single friends. And so I
Mhm.
tell people, especially the guys, I say, the biggest thing you got to do when you're out here is that you just have to be 100. You have to tell the truth and be honest. And what happens is, I said,
Mm,
because in my opinion, or at least from what I've seen, when things go on, women a lot of the times, at least from what I've seen, aren't upset that you're doing what you're doing. They're upset because you lied about it and you didn't give
mm-hmm.
them a chance to say whether or not they wanted to be a part of it. Okay. And so what happens now, I think, nowadays is you have, especially now, women, especially along with the men, who are more open about the fact that, listen, you're not the only person. Okay, you're not the only person, and
Mm.
I know, I got you. I have, this one. I got this one over here, and we do what we do, and we live our lives, and that's just what it is. And it's just widely
Mm.
accepted now because I think more people, again, especially women, are open and honest about it.
Yeah, and I always said this, and a lot of fellas, especially young fellas, they don't believe this, but it's so true. If you're open and honest with an individual and
Hmm.
you tell her what your intentions are,
Hmm.
you'd be surprised how many times she may
Absolutely,
be open and willing to go along with that. Now, a
absolutely,
lot of that has to do with the fact that she thinks she's going to change her mind,
absolutely.
but whether she does or she doesn't is irrelevant.
Yeah,
But at least you're honest. And when you approach them from an honest perspective and an honest platform, at the end of the day, feelings can be hurt,
absolutely.
but betrayal is not part of it.
No.
So you can eliminate the betrayal. And that's
Hmm.
what you want. You don't want to betray somebody,
Yes.
somebody that you actually kind of like. You don't want to betray them. Now,
Yeah.
people get hurt all the time, but
Hmm.
betrayal is a deeper type of hurt.
Yeah.
And if you can avoid that, I mean, at all costs, but avoid the betrayal. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
just be upfront. And if
Absolutely.
they say no, find somebody who says
Somebody.
yes.
Yes. Absolutely. You just go on about your business. You go on. You go on to whoever. But at least then and they know. And like you
Right.
said, it's not a betrayal. Like you might be hurt. You might. Well, I like that guy or I like that girl. But
Mm-hmm.
they nobody lied. Everybody knew what was going on to begin with. Now, whether or not, like you said, it might have been, she might have thought she might have been able to change your mind, and maybe she
Right.
wasn't able to, and that led to a little bit of hurt, but nobody, like I said, nobody
Right.
was betrayed, nobody was lied to, you know.
And absolutely. And that's the thing. When we're in this dating pool, and whoever's in the dating pool, I think you need to handle the people that you're dating with care. You got
Absolutely.
to handle them with care. I
Hmm.
mean, that doesn't mean you have to be romantic or
Hmm.
wife up everybody.
Right.
Obviously, it doesn't mean that. But the people that you're interacting with, because once you leave them, you want to leave them with a positive thought,
Hmm.
even though it may not work out. But you don't want to have a bunch of negative viewpoints of you because your
Absolutely.
behavior was so extra and so beyond the
Hmm.
pale. So if it doesn't work out, okay, that's fine. But maybe you have a friend
Right.
out of the whole
Hmm.
whatever you were doing at the time, whether it was just a friendship or intimacy or whatever it was. Once it ends, you at least want to have a friendship or somewhat a bond. You may not have any bond, but you don't want to have these negative feelings. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what a lot of people don't really consider when they dip their toe into this pool.
Absolutely. No
What
question.
do you
And
think?
that, no, and no question about it. It's absolutely true. And what happens is that that pain gets held on to and it gets carried on into the next relationship. And those things
Absolutely.
get held on to, and you almost, or a lot of people do, hold those feelings against the next person that they're with. So they're a
Hmm.
certain way because, oh, this happened with the last person, you know. And that's what happens. I don't, I think what you said was perfect. No, people, when you enter into different relationships, no matter what it may be, you have to handle it with care. And like you said, it's not about, whining and dining, or, you my one and only, and wifing up and all those kinds of things. It's not about that. It's just about treating a person with respect and love, and
Absolutely.
and those kinds of things, so that if it doesn't work out, like you said, there is no, I learned something from this. It didn't work out, the way we wanted to. It didn't go where we thought it would go, but I was able to learn this from this person and take this and be able to move on. And it was a overall good experience in terms of me dating and wanting to find what I need, So that's
Mm.
something that definitely needs to be, that people have to take into account when they entering into these different relationships.
Facts. And
Hmm.
you know what? I think as a whole, people, what we need to do overall is we deal with relationships, and we sometimes have problems in that relationship, and sometimes the individual is not kind to us.
Right.
Sometimes that individual was hurtful, but at the same time, we need to recognize that it was that individual.
Hmm.
That individual
Okay.
was just behaved terribly. I mean, he may not be a terrible person, or she may not be a terrible person, but in
Hmm.
this instant, they behave terribly. But
Absolutely.
you have to keep in mind that is that
That
individual.
person. Absolutely.
Everybody is not that individual. So when
Hmm.
you go into this next relationship fresh, the scars, they're going to be there.
Hmm.
They're going to be there. But
Hmm.
you have to brush yourself off,
Hmm.
and learn from those things. But to learn from them doesn't automatically assume that everybody is the next I was a vigilante. Oh gosh. Everybody oh gosh, man. Everybody is not the next culprit. We're gonna say
Yes,
that. So you
absolutely.
have to keep that in mind and treat
Hmm.
every person as an independent individual. Now, you
Absolutely.
may see signs. If you see signs that you recognize, keep that in mind. And then maybe
Absolutely.
if you do see signs that remind you about that, maybe you should just move on and don't engage with that individual.
Hmm.
But if you don't see those signs,
Yeah,
treat
that's
yourself well. Find that person.
that's definitely one of the things that when I was that used to irk me. Like, really, it used
Mm,
to really mess with me, because it would be this generalization of,
mm,
okay, this happened to me, So now all guys or all women are like this or are bad or whatever. And it's like, no, 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 no. That person that you dealt with was bad. And I'm
Hmm.
sorry that you had to go through that and you had to see that. But what should happen is an evaluation of, okay, no, this happened. This person did this. This is what this person showed me. This person. Okay, so now as I move on, like you said, if I see those things or see signs of those things, okay, now I know whether, okay, we either got to address this or I just need to move
Hmm.
on. Because I've seen this, I've been through this, and I'm not going to go through it again, especially if it was something very hurtful or very traumatic and things of that nature. But the generalization just overall
Hmm.
does nothing but pollute the pool more. That's all it does.
Absolutely.
That's all
I
it
mean,
does.
you're scarred. It's okay to have scars.
Hmm.
Scars are okay. We all have scars. Everybody has a scar. However, you don't have to go in with your own knife and create new scars within someone else.
Right.
I, I
Absolutely.
I'm just saying it's okay. And I understand why people don't do this, but it's okay to sit down and talk about these things.
Hmm.
Talk about the trauma that you've been through. Talk about the hurt. Talk about the trust that and the betrayal. Talk about these things.
Hmm.
Both of you need to
Yep.
talk about your issues, and maybe you can find things that unite you,
Hmm.
and I think that
Absolutely.
in itself it creates a better friendship because now you're sharing with one another and you're being honest and
Hmm.
you're being authentic with one another and you're sharing your pains and so
Hmm.
forth, and through those pains you find joy,
Hmm.
but you have to be willing to do that. And I know why people don't do it, because they don't want to open themselves up to someone,
Yep.
because they don't want their trust to be
Hmm.
used against them, or
Absolutely.
their pains. And people do that. They
Hmm.
will do that and say, see what
Absolutely.
happened, remember what happened to you before, and they throw
Right.
it in the face. So
Right. And exploit it. Hmm.
I'm not exact. They'll explain in a second. And
Hmm.
I'm not saying that everybody should just immediately just throw all of that out there and let everybody know what you. But once you start to spend more time and you build trust with that individual, just
Yep.
share more with them. And
Absolutely.
you'll more than likely you'll grow together. But
Hmm.
it's the trust, man. That trust is
It's
trust is
that's a
difficult.
hard thing. That's a hard thing. Like, if especially when you've been through, especially if you've been through some things, that trust
Mm.
a lot of times becomes very fragile. And so the minute you decide to let somebody in and then they do something that in your mind violates that trust, most people shut down and it's over.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
and it's very hard to when somebody's in that sort of mind frame. It's very hard to get back in or to let people in. So that i, I see it. I even think, even I was probably a little bit like that, at least for a little while, because you see certain things and you go through certain things and you're like, man, I'm not gonna open myself up to that. Again, I'm not about to open myself up to that again. But that's the only way. The only way to have something meaningful and to find something meaningful and to ultimately find what you're looking for is to open yourself up. It's the only way to do it. The sucky thing about finding that, if that's what you really want, is that you open yourself up to get hurt. That's the sucky part.
Mm.
But if you believe and trust in the person that you're pursuing this with, or once you get to that point with someone, then you're not really worried about them hurting you at that point. If once you trust
Right,
them,
right.
you're not really worried about that. So there's really nothing left. There's nothing left to hold you back from opening up with that person.
I agree. I think that it's not just trusting the other person, it's trusting yourself.
Hmm.
You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your
Absolutely.
instincts. You have to trust your choices. And
Hmm.
you have to trust your growth.
Yep.
Because if you went through growth, you've earned that. And through
Hmm.
that growth, you've earned the right to make a decision that said, you know what, this person is worth it. And
Absolutely.
trust that. And if your instincts tell you that this person is a little shady and need to move on, trust that too.
Hmm.
you know. And I'm
Absolutely.
not saying that it's foolproof. Trust me, I'm not saying that it's foolproof.
Right.
Because you like, oops, but damn,
You make a
craps,
mistake there.
damn.
Exactly. Exactly. It ain't always perfect. You're gonna miss some stuff. You go to, but you can trust yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no question.
I didn't see international porn star. Damn. It's just- where did that come from?
What? How did I miss that one?
Damn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, but keep 100. But you do have to trust yourself, and your instincts are powerful more often than not. And you try to go with your intuition, and that person, but don't mistake your lack of trust for instinct. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because you don't trust anyone. And if you don't trust anyone, that's not instinct. That's
No.
just an issue that you're dealing with.
Yes.
And whoever it was, Jesus can come down. You're like, I don't know about that guy.
Right.
Those sandals, they don't really, it
Mm-mm.
just, yeah, I
Nope.
feel it, those sandals. So, but you gotta really distinguish the difference between
Yep.
you know
Hmm.
your lack of trust and instinct, and
Yep.
don't let that hinder you from finding somebody. I see too many these young ladies and these young men. They put up the fronts. Now the women put up, you got to do this for me, you need to be this, you need to
Yes.
be that. That's just
Hmm.
the front,
Hmm.
because most people aren't like that. So I need the man to do this. Most people aren't going to do that. And if you're
Hmm.
20 something years old, the only way you're going to find someone with those resources more often than not is if they're in some type of illegal activity, or maybe
Hmm.
entertainment, or maybe you can find yourself an athlete. The
Right.
average person is not going to, they're not going to secure that type of lifestyle for you.
Hmm.
So when you hear this type of stuff being put out there, you wonder, like, is that like a defense mechanism? So nobody comes near them because we have this such a high criteria that I
Hmm.
can keep everybody, shield everybody away. And
Yep.
gentlemen, everybody's not a B or a hoe.
Nope.
I mean, some of
Nope.
these, it's like listen, you got a mom, right? You got a
Hmm.
sister, you
Hmm.
got nieces, you got
Yep.
cousins, and
Aunties.
a grandmother. You got,
Hmm.
you got all these. So it makes you wonder. Now, is that a defense mechanism too? Because it's hard. It sounds hard. Everybody's being a hoe, but is that a defense mechanism to protect yourself as well?
That's exactly what it is. That's
And
exactly what it is. It's a defense mechanism.
and if
Because
it is, yeah.
it doesn't because what happens is when you say stuff like that and you put those types of things out there, it doesn't allow for anyone to get close enough. So
Right.
when I say, oh, I call women those times, or women say I need a man that do all these things and da 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 da. It just what it does is it just doesn't allow anyone to get close enough.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And then you have to wonder why. I
Hmm.
mean, because not all of it comes from a boyfriend. Some of it comes
Absolutely.
from upbringing and how you were raised, or whatever trauma
Yep.
you dealt with in the home. So
Hmm.
that's also part of the equation. Every bit of trauma is not a bad relationship. It
Yes.
can be a bad upbringing
Hmm.
in general that
Yep.
just sours you.
Yep.
And sometimes, if you can get to that point where you can have that discussion, then there's a trust, because if she's sharing those things with her, he's sharing those things with you, you've established some level of trust. And that's
Absolutely.
ultimately what it is.
Hmm.
When I think of trust, I don't necessarily think of someone who's not going to cheat on you. Obviously, you
Right.
don't want somebody who's going to cheat on you and lie to you. But trust is more than that from my perspective. It's
Hmm.
trusting somebody's actions, trusting that they'll make the right decision, trusting
Hmm.
that the choices that they make are about the collective. And
Yes.
I know my nephew and we were talking about that. And he's married as well, and
Hmm.
he was talking about the choices that they make are about the collective, and
Yes.
he can trust that and his wife can trust him and say that he's going to make that choice that's about family, and he can
Hmm.
trust that his wife's going to make that choice about family. And that's a level of trust that goes
Right.
beyond just the basic, all right, he's not going to go sleep around, or she's not going to go sleep around. And
Absolutely.
that's that intimacy. That's
Hmm.
true intimacy right there. And that's
Yes.
what we were all working towards That's what we're working
Absolutely.
towards, and I'm sure
Absolutely.
that's what you have right now.
Look, I like you said, not only, and for me, and I'll just add this, not only for, like you said, for those, I know that if my wife is wants to do something or is making decisions, it's in the best interest of the two of us and our goals moving forward. But also, for me, one of the big things for me was that not a trust for me is me being able to tell you things and to share things with you that maybe I've never shared with anyone else, or my deepest, innermost feelings and thoughts about whether it was upbringing, whether it was past relations, whatever, that I can trust you with these things, and that you see me for who I am as a result of me sharing these things with you. That was a huge thing for
Mm.
me. That was a huge thing for me.
And to protect them like they're your own.
Absolutely.
When if she shares something, you protect it like it's your own, and that's a
Absolutely.
level of bond and trust that a lot of people don't want. And these people that put up these fronts and these defense mechanisms and these shields and so forth, they realize if they lift some of those shields and interact with people authentically, be themselves, and talk to people, then you find that there are people who appreciate you for who you are. And I don't
Absolutely.
think that a lot of people think that somebody's really truly going to appreciate them. And
Hmm.
then there are a lot of people who won't appreciate you, but there is that one person that will appreciate you and understand you and want to be with you and and dedicate themselves to you.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
that's what we're about. That's the only reason this platform really exists, is to have these wholesome discussions. And I would call them wholesome because we keep trying to keep it clean,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
have these. Listen. I mean, it don't always go that way.
Hey,
So,
look,
not
so,
all of them go that way.
sometimes topics can go a little left. It's okay.
Yo, they go left. We've had some funny discussions on this show before, but ultimately it's like w- uh, for the most part, most of the people on our platform have been African American.
Hmm.
Like I think maybe all actually,
Hmm.
and I guess it's not by accident, because a lot of times this is happening in our community.
Yes.
And we see it happen in our community where there's this disconnect between man and woman,
Hmm.
and a lot of that disconnect is based on things that happened 200 years prior to us being here,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that still exist, that are
Yeah.
causing problems within the dynamic of man and woman within African American community. So we try to we recognize that, and we say, you know what, okay, it occurred, but that's nothing that we can't get past, because black men know how to love black women. Black women know
Absolutely.
how to love black men. Forget about all. I know that there's a lot of narratives out there about this,
Hmm.
that, and the third, but we can't fall prey to that, because we know
Absolutely.
who we are. And I think that a lot of people need to be reminded. So when I
Yes.
have people like yourself on here, young, intelligent, just vibrant young people, married, I'm sure you'll be starting a family soon one day. And one day,
If my wife was here right now, she'd tell you we settled about probably about 2-3 years, or we it's probably gonna be a few years before
yeah.
we start the family thing, but definitely,
Listen, no
definitely in the future.
no rush.
No rush.
Enjoy life. No
No
rush.
rush.
Enjoy life. You got. Jasmine got a little one for you. You can practice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And those are the best
You
times,
know,
because you can love them, you can go see them, love them, you can
and give him
babysit,
back.
and give them right back. There's your mama. There's
Give him right back. You're like, hey, she's a little wet right now, so I'm gonna, I'm gonna hand her over.
where's your mama? She's wet. All right, there you go.
Yeah, facts. Absolutely, man. No question. But yeah, it's just it's a pleasure. I mean, I enjoy doing it. People ask me about the show. They're like, oh, why'd you do it? Whatever. I did it because, again, I just wanted to have a platform to have real, dialogue, conversation. That's it. It wasn't anything really beyond that. I was like, so if these problems exist, are we talking about them? And I'm not what I don't want to be, and no shade on any other platform out there,
Hmm.
no shade. However, what I see is shows that create a further divide.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So they'll bring young ladies up there that sometimes make an absolute fool out of themselves,
Hmm.
and then this is supposed to reflect women.
Right.
No, these are young ladies who haven't experienced life, probably haven't left the country, haven't been more than 3 states over, and maybe
Hmm.
they'll go to South Beach or something, and haven't really experienced life or the world.
Right.
So when they're speaking from a perspective that's so small
Right.
that it's not really relevant
Hmm.
to the whole. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? It's
Yep.
relative to their specific lifestyle and what they've been through.
Absolutely.
And I try to bring people on that have more of a holistic
Yes.
mentality and viewpoint. People who've
Absolutely.
experienced life, people who've traveled, people
Hmm.
who've been hurt,
Yes.
people who've gotten beyond that hurt, people who have moved beyond. And so people who have owned businesses, people who own businesses, people who are professionals. I try to bring more of that, and it's not just because I'm trying to bring people that are better. I want to see people in a positive light.
Yes.
So when
Absolutely.
I bring them on, and even people who have these things going for them, even they have some difficulties in the dating world.
Yeah. Don't question it.
So I like to bring the people. Yeah. So
No.
that's basically what I don't want to exploit people. I don't want to exploit
No.
men either. Have some guy up here that's just talking about women ain't this and women ain't that or
Hmm.
whatever,
Hmm.
because it doesn't help.
No. No. All it does
So
is add to the problem when
yes,
people talk like that, and it's just about. There's really no solution. It's just an airing of grievances. Really, that's all it is.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean that's the debate show.
Yes.
That becomes a debate. Then those platforms become debate shows and
Hmm.
so forth.
Yes.
And I don't want to debate for. I want dialogue.
Yes.
I learn. I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm here to create a platform, and I learn from this, and I
Hmm.
listen, and I take notes. I mean, literally, I have notes that I take from people say, and I build and I ask questions. You guys see the polls and so forth.
Hmm.
This comes from. Sometimes it comes from the broader audience. Sometimes it's partners. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
something I think of, and I ask these questions because I think people can benefit. And
Yes.
I have my opinions, but that's my opinion. I'd
Yes.
rather go to the broader public and ask them what
Absolutely.
they think, so I get all these different perspectives. Because
Absolutely.
I had the purest intentions.
Hmm.
That's it.
It, it,
I had the
and this
purest of intentions.
and I just say, not just because you're my cousin and I love you, but this is one of the this show and this platform is great, and it's just something that is needed amongst a group of people that
Thank you.
sorely need it. And I'm just happy and grateful to be on and to just be a part of it and to see it and to continue to watch it grow and what it's going to do, man, because it's something that's needed for sure.
Oh man, you don't know how much that means to me. That I greatly appreciate it. Love you, cuz. And listen, man, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going
Yeah.
to continue doing it. I'm going to continue having people on. We're going to continue having honest conversation. I'm going to continue being my true self. Because I can't offer you anything else, because that's
Right.
too much. That's too much work, man. I
Yep.
can't be busting my behind trying to put all that work in. But
Yep.
again, anybody out there, I mean, I always post my lives, and everybody come and the people view it later and so
Hmm.
forth. But again, this was really important to me to have Cousin One here, because I think he's a positive individual. Like I said, I didn't want to embarrass you earlier, but I was like, yo, it's not like he became a good man when he grew up. No, he was a good kid. He was a good teenager who became a good man
I
with
appreciate that.
great mother and father and family setting. And I listen, man. So it was bound to happen. So the success and everything that you achieved is not a surprise to me, to be quite honest. Not to be arrogant, but it was almost expected because, I mean, I just saw it from such a young age. And you were a kid, just like a tiny, teeny bopper little kid. And I was way taller than you back then, and I don't know what happened. But just I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
so I
truly
mean, like I
appreciate
said,
that,
it's a
cuz.
pleasure and my honor.
I appreciate you
Yes,
so much, man.
yes,
Thank you
yes,
so
yes.
much.
Yo, and anything you want to add, anything you want to say?
No, just I would just encourage people to just be open, be honest, and go after what you want. Don't be afraid to, if you, come into something and it's not what you thought it was. Get out. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is to get out. That's the healthiest thing you can do.
Absolutely.
And so I just encourage
Tuck and
people to
roll.
tuck and roll, tuck and roll, and you will be okay. Get up, dust yourself off, and you'll be okay. So I just encourage people to just go
Yeah,
after what you want, and love freely, and put out what you want to get back. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I totally agree. Love freely, man,
yeah,
and don't be afraid to put your heart out there.
absolutely.
Your heart's gonna keep beating. Your heart's gonna keep beating. Find somebody that's gonna respect that heart. Don't give that to everybody. Everybody doesn't
Right.
deserve it.
Yep.
Now, everybody does not deserve that. So you
Absolutely.
find that person, and if your spirit tells you that this person is the right person, believe it and just go forward. And
Hmm.
we're gonna find somebody for everybody. That's
Yes.
the goal. Everybody just open themselves up, clear themselves of toxicity, and just go out there and find somebody that's going to be a loving partner.
Yes. Sir. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
In fact, yo, it's like again, it's been a pleasure having you, Cuzzo, and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk. And when
Yes.
you start that other podcast, that sports show, if you have me, I'd be on. I love to talk some football, some
Yes, sir.
basketball, a little boxing. I'm there.
Definitely.
Even hip hop,
Definitely.
I'm there.
Yeah. Look.
Yeah,
Definitely, I'm
no
gonna definitely need
question.
you for that. I know. I definitely gonna need you for that. The fight game and the hip hop game. I'm gonna definitely need you for
Oh yeah, man, I'm always here, man. No question.
that.
Anytime you need me, I'm always here. Phone call away.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, cuz.
All right, no doubt. Yo,
All right,
one.
cuz.
All right, another episode. Who date Pete in the dating pool? Check us out, and again, like I was saying, the objective of this show is to be authentic, and we want to have people come on and have real dialogue, real conversation, and speak your piece. And that's what this show is about. It's not a big propaganda show. It's not a rah rah show. But we want to have you people on, and we want to talk and have great dialogue. So again, thanks for watching.